Good evening. Let me turn off my Bluetooth. Good evening, everyone. How are you doing? I did not come to stay here long on this video. So what I want to talk to you about is just being mindful, right? Just being mindful of people, right? Being mindful of people you love, right? You got to remember, sometimes the people you love, right? The people you love, the people you adore, the people that you see no fault, no wrong in, right? Those people, the people you love may have been a monster to someone else. The people you love, right, may have been a monster to someone else. And we have to be mindful of that. We have to keep that in perspective, because sometimes I think we forget about things like that. And I know it's probably hard, especially in families. Like, we have all these crazy family situations, a lot of abuse, a lot of incest, a lot of just toxic behavior in families where you love your grandmother, you love your grandfather, you love your mom. But there was a point in time where your grandfather, your grandmother, your mom abused someone else. They were a tyrant. They were a monster in someone else's lives, right? So you have to be mindful. Your dad was a monster to someone else, right? Your uncle, your favorite uncle, was a monster to someone, right? So we have to be mindful of that, because I know sometimes people could get triggered when we are praising people. And that's why, if you're in this situation, that is why it's good to remove yourself from this situation, because sometimes you have people that praise people who have been a monster to them, right? When I say a monster, someone who has abused them, someone who may have molested them. And usually with these type of people, they usually have different faces, and they could be glorious and wonderful to someone else, but they want to push what they've done, right? They want to hide behind, religion. They want to hide behind titles and education and doing good in the community, so that people won't detect, okay, that they're not really who they pretend to be, right? It's almost like they have different faces, because they want to portray an image. That's why social media is so dangerous, because people could portray an image that is really not them. They can talk a certain way. They can move a certain way. That's why you can feel energy. You can feel energy on social media. I know I can. When I'm watching certain people, just like some of you all can watch me. You probably have your assessment, but you can feel certain energies through social media. You can tell if a person is being fake, or doing too much, right? Because people could curate the type of life they want, or curate who they want to be online. But we have to be mindful of that. I wanted to just bring that to our attention, to make sure that we are very mindful. And if you are in this situation, or around people who have not been so nice to you, and you see other people praising them, because one thing about it, I know when you are different, and when you have a light on you, when you are anointed, when you are set apart, people tend to treat you different than other folks, right? They can be nice and kind to other people, but when it comes to you, they treat you, like the black sheep. Some of you all know what I'm talking about. They can glorify, praise, be nice to, treat everyone else like they have some sense. But when it comes to you, they want to ostracize you, leave you out, right? So you have people like that. You have people that can put up different faces. And a lot of abusive people, what they tend to do, they tend to treat the majority right. But when it comes to that one vessel that has light on them, because everybody don't carry a certain light. Everybody don't have a certain anointing. Everybody don't have this certain thing that people want to, they want to, they want to know what it is, right? And they'll never know what it is, because sometimes the people who have it, they don't know that they have it, right? You just know that people treat you different from everyone else. And you just got the purest heart. You don't mean any harm. You're not vindictive. Your heart is not wicked and dark to where you're just treating people wrong, or not saying that you're perfect, but you don't intentionally mistreat people. You don't intentionally do people wrong, right? Usually those people, they get mistreated the most. They get mistreated the most. And they'll always feel like something is wrong with them, right? They always look like something is wrong, will feel like something is wrong with them, because unfortunately we got a lot of dark souls in the world. We got a lot of unhealed people who are not willing to do the work on themselves, who are really not willing to look at themselves. So when you're trying to heal and you're going through your healing journey, you're going through your healing process, you have to make sure that, especially in family, see, it's hard to get away from families, because we feel like we need family, right? And you do need family. I'm a proponent, okay? A proponent of families. I think that's the word, proponent. I'm an advocate for families, but families doesn't always narrow down to blood relatives, right? Family doesn't always narrow down to relatives. You can create your family. Family are those who family is those that you pick. Relatives are, your blood, but family are those people you pick to be in your life. But let me say that when you're around your relatives, right? I know sometimes it's hard to be around relatives who they praise the very person that was a monster to you. They praise the very people that treated you like the black sheep, or they abuse you in some way. Especially the holidays just left, some of you all had to sit amongst your abuser, and I don't know why we feel like we have to subject ourselves to that, but some of you all sat right underneath your abuser while everybody praised them for how good their food is, or praised them for something, and you had to sit there and sit through that and be re-traumatized. And it's not funny, but you had to go through that process again, because everybody is praising, right? And I see it a lot. Like, I see it a lot, especially on social media, where people are praising the very people that, not saying you just have to hate people, not saying that you can't forgive, right? I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, when you have been mean and nasty to people, when you have abused folks and you never really apologize, you never really address the issue, it can cause people to go into a tailspin. It can cause people to, go into a depression if they have not healed and did the work on themselves. If they have not healed, and if they don't know how to, right? Because a lot of times people just don't know how to. They don't know how to forgive, someone who mistreated them. They don't know how to forgive, that family member. They don't know how to forgive that ex-partner, that ex-husband, ex-wife, that child, right? So that's what I want to come talk to you all about. You have to be mindful when you're praising people, and it's sad and it's painful, but you just have to be mindful when you're doting on someone that may have abused somebody, that may have caused someone to fall into a depression or go into, anxiety. That's why I'm always talking about healing and doing the work on yourself. That's why I always talk about being responsible, taking, accountability and responsibility for your emotions, your healing, because the people who are doting on your abuser, or doting on, people who have been a monster to you, sometimes they don't know Sometimes they do, but it's going to cause you to be triggered in some way. So you have to learn to not subject yourself around these people. And I know sometimes you're going to lose relationships. You're going to lose relationships you don't want to lose, right? You're not going to be around people who you're not going to be around people who you want to be around, but because they're close to other people, it's like, what do? Are you going to subject yourself to that, right? Mentally, spiritually, or are you going to just remove yourself? It's 5:55. Or are you going to remove yourself? And it's very difficult. It is. It's very challenging. But we have to be mindful. We have to remember and not take things personal. If someone doesn't want to be around us, or if someone remove themselves from us or from you, like, we have to be mindful. Like, we have to be understanding. We have to be understanding. Because I think what happens is people can't heal because they're not willing to separate themselves from people who are making them feel a certain type of way, from circumstances. Like, they're not willing to separate themselves. They're not willing to not subject themselves to certain things. Oh, wow, it's 55 people watching and 5 likes. That's 555. And I just saw the 555 on this clock, on my clock. So, but that's what I want to come share with you all. I hope you all are having a good evening. I'm having a good evening, and I just wanted to share this message with you all. I hope this message encouraged someone. I hope this message provided some insight to you all, to help you just to be mindful. Like, and I know relationships are some of the hardest things to navigate in this world. They're very difficult. A lot of people are not doing the work on themselves. A lot of people are projecting and blaming other people for, their issues. Some people are blaming their parents. Some people are blaming, sometimes it is the parents now. I'm not going to lie, it is the parents. But my thing in that, sometimes the parents have to be accountable, right? Take accountability, and it's okay, right? It's okay. If you know you've messed up as a parent, it's okay to say you messed up and address that. And then if that child doesn't accept that, that you're genuine and you're taking accountability, that's on them. And rightfully so. You can't make a person change their mind about something that happened to them or something that you've done to them. As long as you know you've done your part, and you can move on. You can free yourself, right? You can free yourself and you can move on. I just don't believe in, now that I'm in a different place in my life, and I've always been like this, but I just don't believe in allowing people to have that much control over me in my emotions. Because when you don't forgive and let things go, that's what happens. You give people the power and control over your emotions. And I just don't believe in that. I just don't believe in having somebody else to dictate and control whether or not I'm going to enjoy, my honey bun, or enjoy my ice cream, or enjoy, being, enjoy just being thankful. Oh, they always do, Flower. I agree. And sometimes they don't get it until they start having children. Sometimes they don't get it till they start having children. But I can say one thing as a mom. I don't believe in this, the parenting belief from how I was brought up, right? How some moms, and it's not always mom's fault, but how I saw some moms, majority now, how I saw some moms not take accountability, right? Yeah, they don't understand. They don't understand those dynamics, Flower. They don't understand those dynamics. Times the other person, tend to get in the kid's head and make them feel like you are at fault. You know, I just believe in, and then sometimes the children will blame themselves. But I believe in, also believe, I don't believe in that. I think it's very demonic, and I think it's selfish, because although you didn't make it as a husband and wife, the kids still need both parents. They still need both parents. But what I was going to say, when it comes to the adult children, how I remember how some mothers used to be growing up, because it takes two. It's just not the mother's fault, right? It takes two. Mothers, they did not take, some moms did not take accountability. I did the best I could, this, that, and the other. Instead of listening to the child's needs and listening to their emotions and where they're coming from, and saying, instead of invalidating their feelings, even if you don't remember, because sometimes we don't remember everything, just being very apologetic about it. Oh yeah, that can be very hard, but you can pray about it. Flower, just pray about it. And pray that God gives you, yeah. And sometimes when you're in an abusive situation, especially if the marriage was abusive, if the marriage was abusive, sometimes kids don't understand, because a lot of times, sometimes, yeah, sometimes, kids don't understand because you don't put them. I'm the type, I sometimes it is tempting, and like if you was in an abusive marriage, that's what I was going to say. If you're in an abusive marriage, sometimes you don't remember everything, because sometimes you just be on autopilot and you just be going through the motions and trying to do the best you can, especially if you were the person that was carrying the emotional weight or doing the emotional labor inside of the relationship. When you're carrying the emotional labor, you're not going to remember a lot of things, right? So even if your child brings it up, don't shoot it down. Just, apologize. Say, I'm sorry, and just pray and ask God to give you wisdom to get through it. Because I know it could be difficult. I've been through challenging times. So I know what I'm talking about. I know how difficult it could be. Because a lot of times people want to shift blame. Nobody wants to take accountability. One spouse want to blame the other want to blame the other, and then the children thrown in the middle. I've been through a situation, and them to be the what is it, collateral damage, because it's already hard enough for kids to cope with your mom and dad separating, and that's all they know. It's damaging, you know. It's damaging for them kids to process that. So I didn't want that. Yeah, I didn't want that. And a lot of times when you're going through things, prayer helps a lot, because you emotionally sometimes you're not there, right? Emotionally sometimes you're not there. And then depends on what situation you're in. You probably got toxic in-laws, people who really was happy that your marriage is failing, or happy that your marriage is not working out, because they get to get their way, right? So they're going to contribute to it. You got a lot of people. That's why it's good to, when you're in the marriage, it's good to be united with be united with your partner, which means Nobody could talk. Your spouse shouldn't be talking about you to his family, and you shouldn't be talking about your spouse to your family. Y'all talk to each other, but you have these toxic in-laws that they want to cause strife, right? They want to cause strife in relationships. They like the dysfunction, so they can't wait. Okay, they can't wait till something go down. People be they be rejoiceful. What it is, joyous. What is the word? They be joyful and jolly when you're going through something. That's because they're jealous and they're haters. And them spirits don't like unity. They don't like unity. They don't like people on one accord trying to do what's right. Especially if that bloodline got them spirits in it, got that what them spirit call them anti-marriage spirits in it. If your bloodline got that in there, you best believe you're gonna have some warfare. So yeah, that's all you can do. Just pray and be open and communicate. Exactly, Nathan. That bloodline do, and we don't realize that. So once we realize that, you can kind of you just take responsibility. That's all. And ask them, what can you do to make it right? If you want the relationship, if they don't want the relationship, there's nothing you could do. There's really nothing you can do. Long as you do your part, long as you reach out and do your part and be sincere, that's all you can do. Because I know I'm not going to run behind anybody. I'm not going to go out of my way to, force somebody to forgive or be okay, or I don't have the energy to do that. But I communicate. I'm the one that like to communicate. Not saying I'm perfect, but I want to get to the bottom of it. We're not going to be, especially when it comes to adult kids, we're not going to be going back and forth. So I know what you mean. Yeah. So, and it is hard. Relationships are hard, especially when you have people around polluting, your children's minds, and they watching all these different videos, and the enemy is there. If they're not spiritually led, the devil will use them kids. The enemy will use them kids against you. When he can't get to anyone else, he will use your household, your husband, your wife, your children. He will use them to come against you. Not strangers. It's not always strangers that is coming against you. It's those ones in your household, them children. If they're not Holy Spirit filled, if they're not Holy Spirit led, the enemy can get into their heads, and them kids will come up against you. You will see them spirits operating in them. You will see them spirits operating in them children. Be like, what's wrong with them? That's not my baby. That's not my child. And you know when your child is, you know when it's your child and when it's not. God, them spirits will use your children against you, have them mad at you for nothing, snapping, getting an attitude, trying to, start a fight, trying to provoke you and get you angry. That's why you got to be spirit led, so you can see the enemy working in them kids and you can shut it down. You can shut it down. Because he'll get in them children. You be like, what in the world? That's not my baby. And people don't believe that. People don't believe these different spirits and entities could take over these kids' minds. Especially if they listen to all this foolish music. And they listen to all this foolish music, watching all this perverted stuff. The enemy, that's a gateway. Young children and old children, that is a gateway to your soul. That's a gateway for the enemy Mm-hmm. A gateway for the enemy to get in. Yep. Blessed. I just wanted to come talk to y'all about that. Just remember, the initial video was the people you love, right, may have been a monster to someone else. So we have to be mindful of that. We have to be mindful. Just be mindful, right? So you all be blessed. Just be honest, okay? I believe in honesty. I believe in just being honest, and I believe just being truthful. Sometimes if you don't have the, if you can't provide an answer right then to something, you can just be quiet and say, or I'd rather not answer that right now. You're not lying, you're not saying anything, but you just want to be honest and truthful. I believe in being honest and truthful, and I believe in holding people accountable. I made a vow to myself. If, and I don't want to say a vow because we should be making vows, but I told myself if I can't be true and speak the truth to those I love or those around me, or if those that say they love me and who are around me, if I can't correct them, because see, a lot of people don't like correction. A lot of times the enemy has what he has done in this world, he has almost deceived people to stop speaking truth, because they have started calling truth and correction judging, right? People so scared now to speak the truth because they don't want to feel like they're judging someone. That's not judging. You have to be corrected, right? You need someone to correct you. If I just let my 13-year-old do what he wants to do, how is he going to learn what's right, what's wrong, what to do, what not to do? He has to be raised. He has to be taught what to do, what not to do. Not just go around here and do what he wants to do. He needs someone to guide him. And see, people don't want to be guided. They want to do anything and say anything and want you to overlook it. But I told my kids, I'm not going to overlook anything. If it's wrong, I'm going to correct you and hold you accountable. If holding you accountable cause you to stop speaking to me, I'm not going to lose a lick of sleep, because I'm holding you accountable. I'm not judging you. I'm not saying, I'm not cursing you. It's just holding you accountable and telling you where you are wrong, where your error is. And that's what parents are for. Even when they become adults. I am not my kids' friend, okay? I could be friendly, but I'm not going to say, oh girl, oh child, that's good. No, I'm going to tell them as a mother, I'm going to correct them. I'm not going to, because your friends will go along with you. True friends won't, right? I'm glad I got a true friend who will correct me in a minute. But most friends, they're going to side with you. Even if you're wrong or not, they're going to side with you. And those are really not true friends. We've just been taught, we've been taught that's what a friend is. Won't stick by you regardless. No, we could still be friends and I can correct you. I could tell you, now, friend, you out of pocket now. You shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have talked to that person like that. Or you wrong for, saying that to your spouse. Or you shouldn't have said that to your spouse like that. I'm one of those friends. You're going to grow and learn with me, and I want my friends to do the same. I want the friend that's going to say, Monique, now that's not how you should have did that. You need to apologize. I may fight and cry, okay? Because, that flesh don't like to be told the truth. I may get mad and, squirm and cry, but I'm going to say, you're right. And I'm going to go, my spirit going to convict me anyway. I can't do wrong. I can't do nothing wrong without my spirit convicting me. Look, even if the person don't think it was offensive, my spirit will convict me when I'm out of pocket, or my spirit will convict me. And that's a good thing when you can feel that you have wronged people. The dangerous people walking this earth are the ones who are doing things to people and they can't feel it. They don't think nothing's wrong with it. They don't see no wrong in what they're doing, how they talk to people, and how they gossip about people, and how they lie on people. Those are the dangerous folks. They're the dangerous people. They're dangerous. So, but anyways, I gotta go. I don't want to keep you all long. You all be blessed, okay? I hope this message, exactly. Repent now, stay. Yes, I believe in that. But I'm not going to keep you long. You all be blessed, and I will come talk to you all probably tomorrow or whenever I get another message, okay? So you